What if I told you that every failed relationship in human history, every breakup, every betrayal, every divorce, every estranged parent and child collapsed for the exact same reason? And what if I told you that reason has nothing to do with communication, compromise, love languages, or effort? What if the real truth is far more uncomfortable and far more liberating? Let me ask you something. Have you ever given someone everything, your time, your loyalty, your affection, your entire heart, only to feel like what came back was half the gratitude, half the attention, half the love? It feels unfair. It feels lopsided. It feels like you're pouring yourself into a bottomless well. But here's the twist. They feel the exact same way about you. For thousands of years, humanity has tried to solve this imbalance with methods that should have worked: therapy, communication tools, marriage systems, spiritual practices, personal development. But the data is clear. They don't work. In fact, they've never worked. We've been trying to fix the wrong problem, because the issue isn't the giving. The issue is the gulf, the perceptual distortion between what is offered and what is received. A distortion created by oscillation, expectation, and the material mind. And there is only one way to dissolve it. Not two people working harder, not endless emotional labor, not better communication, one person in communion. Seeing clearly, this is the unthinkable solution, the one humanity has never tried. Today, we're going to walk directly into that gulf and reveal why your 100% becomes 50% the moment it crosses the divide. Welcome to I Gave You Everything. Why does only half come back? A UTN exploration of perception, conflict, and the only path that leads to paradise without effort. I gave you everything. Why does only half come back? Why all human relationship frameworks fail, and why communion is the only solution, by Patrick Carodine, Unified Theistic Naturalism Publications 2025, DO10, 5281 Zenodo, 178579776 Abstract. For 5,000 years, humanity has attempted to close the relational gulf between people using the same recycled methods: communication strategies, compromise models, behavioral tools, emotional labor, marriage systems, religious doctrines, therapeutic innovations, and philosophical frameworks. Every robe in the marketplace, ancient and modern, has promised to bridge the divide between one heart and another, but the evidence is devastating. Despite unprecedented access to counseling, self-help, spiritual practices, psychology, and education, relationship failure is increasing across every measurable domain. The U.S. divorce rate remains one of the highest in the world. Nearly 50% of first marriages end, and 80% of second marriages fail. Breakups among unmarried partners have increased by 44% over the past decade. Estrangement between adult children and parents is rising sharply, with 1 in 4 American adults reporting severed family ties. Friendships have become increasingly fragile. 52% of adults report having lost their closest friend within the last 5 years. Despite millennia of attempted solutions, the gulf remains, and in many cases continues widening. Every failed relationship reveals the same mechanics: two individuals giving fully, but each receiving only half. Two cylinders filled to the top, yet a gulf of perception distorts the exchange. Expectation becomes the thief. Oscillation becomes the interpreter. Trauma becomes the residue. This paper demonstrates the unthinkable truth. There has never been a successful system for relationships. There has only been oscillation repeating itself with new language. All traditional models, religious, therapeutic, philosophical, or behavioral, are fundamentally flawed because they attempt to change matter with matter. They require effort, negotiation, compromise, emotional contortion, and repeated cycles of self-repair. And the data proves it. No method in human history has meaningfully decreased relational failure. There is only one path that dissolves the gulf without effort, distortion, conflict, or traumatic learning: wisdom gained through communion. Communion is not effort. Communion is not technique. Communion is not negotiation. Communion is resonance with the divine, where perfect action emerges without oscillation. This paper presents the 3 paths of human wisdom, trauma, borrowed teaching, and communion and demonstrates scientifically, psychologically, and spiritually why only the third path can close the relational gulf and sustain paradise. The old world, the endless repetition of failed methods across cultures, across ages, across frameworks. Humans continue using the same expired steps. We need better communication. We both have to try harder. We must compromise equally. Marriage requires sacrifice from both sides. Therapy will help us understand each other. Every one of these solutions is rooted in matter attempting to fix matter, yet the evidence is undeniably clear. More communication has not reduced divorce. More education has not reduced breakups. More therapy has not reduced estrangement. More tools have not reduced suffering. Matter cannot heal oscillation because oscillation is the source of the distortion itself. Traditional solutions keep washing and repeating the same paradigms. More effort, more work, more emotional labor, more negotiation, more training, more apologies, more tools. Humanity keeps returning to the same cliff with the same rope, frayed, fragile, and historically ineffective. 2. The three paths of wisdom. Human beings only acquire wisdom through one of three ways. Two of them destroy us, one of them frees us. 1. Wisdom through lived trauma. This is the most common method in human history. People learn through betrayal, abandonment, conflict, heartbreak. Oscillation's hammer, striking them into temporary clarity. Trauma creates temporary stillness, but the cost is catastrophic. Emotional fragmentation, addictions, distrust, generational repetition, somogenic imprinting of suffering, entire relationships destroyed. This is wisdom gained through fire, unreliable, costly, and timing blind. 2. Wisdom borrowed from others. Counselors, preachers, therapists, gurus, philosophers, experts all attempt to pass on what they learned through their own tampering. But the moment a borrowed instruction is applied outside its original timing, misapplication becomes oscillation, and oscillation becomes suffering. A broken clock is right twice a day. Borrowed wisdom is accurate twice a year. This is why human advice cannot produce sustained paradise. 3. Wisdom through communion. Communion is resonance with the divine, where the 7 attributes become the unmoving line and perfect action unfolds without effort. In communion, perception clears, expectation dissolves, the gulf evaporates, the other person's oscillation becomes transparent, and perfect timing emerges in real time. Wisdom is gained without trauma, without distortion, without misapplication. Communion is the only path that does not require pain, effort, or regeneration. 3. The gulf. Why all relationships collapse. 2 people give their fullness. 2 people receive only half. Expectation interprets the exchange. Oscillation distorts the perception. Perceived lack becomes accusation. Accusation becomes conflict. Conflict becomes separation. This mechanic is universal. The gulf cannot be closed by compromise, communication, effort, therapy tools, techniques, surrender, marriage contracts, emotional labor, or religious discipline. These are attempts to change someone else's oscillation. An oscillation cannot be changed by force, negotiation, or desire. IV, the unthinkable solution. Seeing the menace as mentor. When one person enters communion, a radical inversion occurs. You stop trying to fix their expectation and start discovering the divine attribute hidden inside it. Their unreasonable demands become patience, gentleness, steadiness, clarity, compassion, consistency. They unknowingly point you toward an attribute of the divine. You grow, not to satisfy them, but to resonate with the divine. They feel understood. You gain wisdom. The gulf dissolves. No one loses. This is the only win-win that has ever existed. V7 reflective questions for the seeker. 1. What if every conflict I face is simply an unrecognized invitation into a divine attribute? 2. Where am I still trying to fix others instead of dissolving expectation? 3. How much of my suffering has come from misapplied wisdom borrowed from someone else's timing? 4. When has trauma taught me something I could have learned through communion instead? 5. What relationships have I abandoned because I believed the gulf was real? 6. What would happen if I stopped defending my fullness and simply expressed divine attributes without effort? 7. What if paradise has always been available the moment I stopped trying to change another human being? Conclusion. The climactic truth: humanity has never had a working system for relationships. Every tool, every method, every philosophy has been a rebranded attempt to use matter to repair matter. But the gulf cannot be bridged through effort. It dissolves only through vision. Communion does not repair relationships. Communion reveals that nothing was broken except perception. The menace becomes the mentor. The conflict becomes the classroom. The gap becomes the gateway. This is the unthinkable truth. Paradise was never hidden. It was simply misinterpreted. And the moment one person enters communion, the moment one person sees clearly, the moment one person stops negotiating with oscillation, the entire relationship transforms. Perfect action emerges. Wisdom is gained without trauma, and paradise becomes the natural state of existence. This is UTN's offering to the world. Canonical block. At the canonical level, the UTN rubric confirms that all human conflict arises from oscillation, and that communion, not effort, is the only architecture capable of dissolving the gulf. Through the laws of resonance flow, perfect action, and stillness without suppression, the individual discovers wisdom without trauma and relationship without distortion. When the 7 attributes stabilize the center frame, perception clears, oscillation falls silent, and paradise becomes the default state of human experience. If you've walked with me this far, something inside you has already begun to shift. You can feel it. The gulf between hearts is not where relationships die, it's where perception is born. We began with a question. How can 2 people give everything and yet only receive half? And now you see it clearly. The half return was never lack, it was distortion. It was oscillation. It was the material mind translating fullness into fragments. Communion ends that. Because communion doesn't fix relationships, it dissolves the illusion that they were broken. And now the walk continues. Because if this paper revealed the gulf between you and another, the next journey reveals the gulf between you and yourself. Below are 3 doorways, 3 next steps in the UTN exploration. Each one will take you deeper into the mechanics of suffering, perception, and perfect action. Choose the one that calls to you first. Next journey 1, there is no ego, only movement away from presence. There is no ego, only movement trailer. What if the thing you've spent your entire life trying to conquer never existed? This work dismantles the entire myth of ego, not spiritually, not metaphorically, but with direct structural seeing. You will discover why humanity's battle with itself has persisted for millennia, and why every tool meant to tame the ego has only strengthened oscillation. This is not self-improvement. This is the end of the inner war. 2 reflective questions. If the ego is only movement, then who have you been trying to fix all this time? What changes when there is no enemy left inside you to defeat? Next journey 2, the fire and the mirror. When the seer meets the sufferer, the fire and the mirror trailer. There is no conflict between a seer and a sufferer, only revelation. This journey shows what happens when stillness encounters oscillation. The sufferer's fire becomes the seer's mirror, and that mirror burns through the last unseen layers of self. Conflict is no longer an obstacle. It becomes the divine refining itself through you. Nothing here is theoretical. This is the living mechanics of perfect action. 2 reflective questions. What if the person causing you the most pain is the divine's final mirror for your refinement? What if resolution isn't something you create, but something revealed when you stop moving? Next journey 3, the reward of oscillating. A life of distortion, the reward of oscillating trailer. Oscillation does not punish you, it rewards you. This paper exposes the hidden economy of suffering. How oscillation gives just enough peace to feel spiritual, but never enough to become whole. It reveals why seekers stay stuck for decades, why clarity fades, and why paradise feels close but never arrives. Here, distortion becomes visible, and what becomes visible can no longer bind you. 2 reflective questions. How much of your peace has been nothing more than temporary relief rewarded by oscillation? What would life feel like if clarity never faded again? Closing breath. The gulf between people dissolves through communion. The gulf within dissolves through seeing. And the gulf between you and the divine dissolves the moment you stop moving. Thank you for walking this path with me, for seeing what most never dare to look at, and for stepping beyond the old world of effort into new world of communion. The next journey is waiting. Choose the doorway that calls to your breath, and I'll meet you there. I'm Patrick Carodine, and this is UTN,